Monday, 11:34 p.m. Apex Pharmaceuticals Research Lab, New Jersey. Dr. Rachel Morgan sat alone in her office, staring at data that shouldn't exist. 23 years in pharmaceutical research, PhD from MIT, senior scientist, impeccable reputation, and now holding evidence that could destroy everything. The spreadsheet glowed on her screen. Trial data for Veritol, Apex's miracle cardiovascular drug. 18 months from FDA approval, $3 billion in projected first-year revenue. The company's entire future riding on it. And the data was fraudulent. Rachel had discovered it by accident, running secondary analysis for a presentation when she noticed anomalies. Patient number 4731, experiencing severe liver damage, not in the official reports. Patient number 60/42, with kidney failure, scrubbed from the database. Patient number 7854, dying of a stroke, attributed to pre-existing conditions, despite being healthy before the trial.
She dug deeper, found the original reports, compared them to what was submitted to the FDA. The discrepancies were systematic, deliberate. Someone had manipulated the data, hiding adverse events, making Veritol look safer than it was. 23 patients with serious complications, 7 deaths, all erased from the official record. Rachel's hands shook as she pulled up more files. Internal memos between her boss, Dr. Marcus Chen, VP of Research, and the CEO, James Thornton. Emails discussing the problematic data points, instructions to contextualize the outliers. Corporate speak for lie about what's killing people. One email particularly damning. Marcus, the adverse events in Cohort 3 are concerning but manageable. We can't delay launch over statistical noise. Reclassify the liver events as pre-existing. The stroke was clearly unrelated. We have $500 million invested. We launch on schedule. James. Statistical noise. That's what they called 7 human beings dying. Rachel leaned back in her chair, the weight of what she'd found crushing her. If she did nothing, Veritol would launch. Millions of people would take it. Thousands would suffer serious complications. Hundreds would die. All preventable if someone just told the truth. But if she spoke up, she thought about her position. Senior scientist, $240,000 salary. Stock options worth another $300,000. Her daughter, Sophie, 17, about to start college, tuition paid by Apex. Her son, Michael, 14, in private school. Her husband, David, 48, whose small business barely broke even. The family depended on her income, her stability. More than that, she'd signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, ironclad. Speaking publicly about proprietary data meant lawsuits, breach of contract. She'd lose her job, her savings, possibly her freedom. And for what? To be labeled a troublemaker? Blacklisted in the industry? Pharmaceutical research was a small world. Everyone knew everyone. Whistleblowers didn't get second chances. They got destroyed. Rachel pulled up news articles about other pharmaceutical whistleblowers. Cheryl Eckerd from GlaxoSmithKline exposed manufacturing violations, won $96 million settlement, but spent years in legal hell, unemployable. Dr. David Graham from the FDA testified about Vioxx dangers. Career effectively ended despite being right. Dr. Andrew Wakefield, different situation, but still, destroyed reputation, banned from medicine. The pattern was clear. Whistleblowers pay, even when they're right, even when they save lives. They pay with careers, savings, marriages, mental health. Was she willing to pay that price? Rachel closed her laptop, looked around her office. Diplomas on the wall, awards, photos of company events. 23 years of building a career, a life, a reputation. All of it would be gone if she spoke up. She should talk to Marcus first, give him a chance to explain. Maybe there was context she didn't understand. Maybe the data manipulation was a mistake, not malice. But she'd read the emails. This wasn't a mistake. This was a decision, a conscious choice to hide deaths for profit. Rachel's phone buzzed. Text from David. Coming home soon? Sophie's stressed about college apps. Could use your help. She typed back. Still at the lab. Home late. Love you. Sophie, 17 years old, dreams of Yale, pre-med track, wanted to be a doctor like her mom was a scientist. What kind of example was Rachel setting? Stay silent about fraud that will kill people because speaking up is inconvenient?
But what kind of example was destroying your family's financial security for principle? Was martyrdom really the right choice when you had kids depending on you? Rachel opened her laptop again, stared at the data. 23 patients with serious complications, 7 dead. Names, not numbers. Robert Chen, 56, heart attack 2 weeks into the trial, ruled unrelated despite no prior cardiac history. Maria Rodriguez, 43, liver failure, pre-existing condition despite clean baseline labs. James Patterson, 67, stroke, died 3 days later. Coincidence? These were people, with families, with lives, erased from the record so Apex could make billions. Rachel pulled up the FDA contact portal, stared at the submission form for safety concerns. 1 click. Attach the files. Submit. The truth would be out, the investigation would begin, and her life would end. She closed the browser. Not tonight. She needed to think, needed to talk to someone. But who? Her husband would tell her to stay quiet. They couldn't afford the fallout. Her colleagues worked for Apex. They'd report her immediately. A lawyer would say the NDA was binding. Who could she trust with this? Rachel looked at the photo on her desk. Her and Sophie at her PhD graduation. Sophie was 5, wearing a tiny cap and gown, beaming with pride. "My mommy is so smart," she'd said. Would Sophie be proud if her mom stayed silent while people died? Or would she understand that sometimes survival requires compromise? Rachel whispered to the empty office. What would Jesus do? If he found evidence of corporate fraud that would kill people? Would he speak up, even if it cost him everything? The office went silent. Not normal late-night quiet. Complete absence of sound. The hum of computers? Stopped. The distant traffic outside? Gone. Even the fluorescent light's buzz? Vanished. Rachel looked up. The light had changed. Not from overhead fixtures. Golden. Warm. Like truth made visible. A figure stood by her bookshelf. Middle Eastern. Carpenter's hands. Eyes that had confronted corruption and paid the price. Jesus. Real. Present. Impossible. Rachel's scientific mind immediately categorized hallucination, stress-induced psychosis, late-night exhaustion creating neural misfires. None of those, he said, reading her thoughts. You asked what I would do. I'm here to show you. This isn't real. I'm overworked, haven't slept properly in weeks. You're awake. More awake than you've been in years. Rachel, you've been living in a comfortable delusion that you can serve science and serve mammon, that you can pursue truth and ignore lies, that you can be a good person without doing good things. Tonight, that delusion ends. I don't believe in you. I'm a scientist. I know. MIT PhD, 23 years researching cardiovascular disease, published 78 papers. Your work has saved countless lives. But Rachel, you're about to let thousands die because speaking up is inconvenient. How is that scientific? How is that rational? The words landed like blows. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You know the data is fraudulent. You know people will die. You have the power to stop it. The only question is, will you? Do you know what happens to whistleblowers? They're destroyed. Financially, professionally, personally. I have a family. So did the prophets. So did John the Baptist. So did I. That didn't stop them from speaking truth. Come, let me show you what happens when good people stay silent, and what happens when they don't. He extended scarred hands, the hands of someone executed for challenging corruption. I don't want to go anywhere. Yes, you do. That's why you're still here at midnight, staring at data, asking what the right thing is. You already know. You're just afraid to do it. Come, let me show you. Courage is expensive, but silence is more expensive. Rachel stood, legs unsteady, took his hands. The office dissolved. The journey, Jesus and truth-telling. Nathan confronts David. They stood in an ancient palace. Israel, King David on his throne, prosperous, powerful, comfortable. A prophet, Nathan, entered, alone. No guards, no protection. Just a man with a message. Your Majesty, let me tell you a story. There were 2 men in a city, one rich, one poor. The rich man had many sheep. The poor man had only 1 lamb, bought with his last money, raised like a daughter, slept in his arms. David listened, interested. A traveler came to the rich man. Instead of taking one of his own sheep to prepare a meal, he took the poor man's lamb, killed it, served it to his guest. David erupted. "That man deserves to die. Who is he? I'll execute him myself. He showed no pity." Nathan stepped forward. "You are that man." The throne room froze. Everyone held their breath. "You don't accuse the king. Kings kill people for less." Nathan continued, voice steady. "You took Uriah's wife. You killed Uriah. You had everything, wives, wealth, power, but you took the one thing that wasn't yours. And you think God doesn't see?" David could have ordered Nathan's execution. One word and the prophet dies. Instead, David's face crumbled. "I have sinned against the Lord." Present, Rachel and Jesus watched. "Nathan risked everything," Rachel observed. "David could have killed him." "Yes, but Nathan spoke anyway, because truth matters more than safety." Rachel, do you see the parallel? Your CEO is David, rich, powerful, taking what isn't his, other people's lives for profit. Someone needs to be Nathan, to walk into power and say, "This is wrong." And if I'm Nathan, what happens to me? In this story, Nathan lived, David repented, the system changed. But that's not always how it ends. Sometimes the prophet dies, sometimes the king doesn't repent, but the truth is still told. That's what matters. Elijah confronts Ahab. The scene shifted. A different king, Ahab of Israel. A prophet, Elijah, standing before him. "Where have you been, you troubler of Israel?" Ahab demanded. Elijah didn't flinch. "I haven't troubled Israel. You have. You and your father's family. You've abandoned God's commands. You've murdered innocent people for their land. You've allowed corruption to flourish." Ahab's face reddened. "How dare you? How dare I tell the truth? Your Majesty, you killed Naboth to steal his vineyard. You think power lets you do whatever you want, but there's a higher authority, and judgment is coming. I could have you executed. Then execute me, but the truth won't die with me. What you've done is evil, and someone needs to say it." Present Jesus turned to Rachel. Elijah knew the cost. He spent years in hiding after this, hunted, threatened, living in caves, but he spoke anyway. Because some things are worth more than comfort. He lost everything. He kept his integrity, his soul, his ability to look at himself in the mirror. Rachel, if you stay silent, you keep your job, but you lose something more important. You lose yourself. John the Baptist. Another shift, the wilderness. John the Baptist preaching, wild-looking, uncompromising, powerful. King Herod had married Herodias, his brother's wife. Illegal, immoral. But he was king. Who would challenge him? John did. "It's not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. You're living in adultery. You think power exempts you from morality?" Herod's officials pulled him aside. "Stop. You're making the king angry. He'll arrest you." "Then let him arrest me. Truth doesn't become less true because speaking it is dangerous." Herod did arrest him, threw him in prison, and eventually beheaded him at a party to please Herodias. Present Rachel watched John's execution. He died. For telling the truth, he died. Yes, and his death echoed through history, inspired millions, changed the world. Rachel, results aren't immediate. John didn't see the full impact of his courage, but it mattered. It still matters. You're saying I should be willing to die for this? I'm saying you should be willing to lose your job for this, your comfort, your financial security, because people are literally dying, and you have the power to stop it. Jesus cleanses the temple. The scene shifted, the temple in Jerusalem. Holy place, sacred space. But it had been corrupted. Money changers exploiting worshippers, merchants selling sacrifices at inflated prices, the religious system enriching leaders while crushing the poor. Younger Jesus walked through, took in the scene. Then his face changed. Not anger, righteous fury. He made a whip from cords, overturned tables, coins scattered, doves flew free. It is written, "My Father's house shall be called a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of thieves." The merchants scrambled. The religious leaders rushed over, outraged. "By what authority do you do this? Who gave you permission?" "By the authority of truth.
This is corruption. This is exploitation, and someone needs to stop it. You're destroying business, creating chaos. Think of the economic impact. Think of the poor being exploited. Think of the worshippers being cheated. Your economic system is built on injustice. It needs to be destroyed. Present Jesus turned to Rachel. I didn't file a complaint, didn't work within the system. I confronted corruption directly, publicly, violently even, because some systems are too corrupt to reform gently. But you were God, you had authority. I was human too, just a rabbi with no institutional power. But I had moral authority, the authority that comes from being right. Rachel, you have that same authority. Apex is corrupt. The CEO is lying. People are dying. You have evidence. That gives you moral authority to speak.
It'll destroy my career. It'll save lives. The question is, which matters more? Daniel and the lions. Another scene. Babylon. Daniel, high-ranking official, praying to God. This was illegal. King Darius had decreed, worship only the king for 30 days. Anyone caught praying to another god would be thrown to lions. Daniel knew this. Everyone knew this. It was a trap. Daniel's rivals had engineered it specifically to destroy him. Daniel prayed anyway. Windows open, 3 times a day. Public. Defiant. He was arrested, brought before Darius. Daniel, I don't want to do this, but the law is the law. You knew the consequences. I did, Your Majesty, but God's law supersedes human law. I won't compromise. You'll die. Then I die, but I won't stop telling the truth. They threw him to the lions. Darius spent the night unable to eat or sleep. At dawn, rushed to the den. Daniel, has your God saved you? Daniel's voice called back. Your Majesty, my God sent angels. They shut the lions' mouths. I'm unharmed because I was innocent before God. Present Jesus and Rachel watched Daniel emerge, unscathed. He was willing to die, Rachel said quietly. Yes, and sometimes God delivers miraculously, but sometimes he doesn't. Rachel, 3 of Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, were thrown into a furnace for refusing to compromise. God saved them, but they told the king, even if he doesn't save us, we still won't bow. That's faith, not belief in guaranteed rescue, commitment to truth regardless of outcome. What if I speak up and nothing changes? What if Apex destroys me and launches Veritol anyway? Then you spoke up. You tried. You didn't participate in the lie. Rachel, you're not responsible for whether the system listens. You're responsible for whether you tell the truth. Ananias and Sapphira. One final scene. The early church. A couple, Ananias and Sapphira, selling property, claiming to donate all proceeds to the church. But they secretly kept some money. Peter confronted Ananias. Why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit? You didn't have to give all the money, but you chose to lie about it. You're not lying to us. You're lying to God. Ananias fell dead. 3 hours later, Sapphira arrived, unaware. Peter asked, "Did you sell the land for this price?" "Yes," she lied. "That's the full amount." "How could you agree to test the spirit? Your husband is dead. You're next." She fell dead. The scene froze. Present Jesus looked at Rachel. Harsh, Rachel said. Yes, but instructive. What killed them wasn't keeping money. It was lying about it. They participated in fraud, claimed integrity while living deception, and it destroyed them. Rachel, Apex is Ananias, claiming to serve patients while serving profit. And you're being asked, will you participate in the lie, or will you expose it? I'm not Peter, I'm just a scientist. Peter was just a fisherman, but when confronted with corruption, he spoke. That's what prophets do. That's what scientists should do. Pursue truth wherever it leads, whatever it costs. The final question. The scenes dissolved. Rachel and Jesus stood in that timeless place. What are you asking me to do? Rachel's voice broke. Destroy my career? Bankrupt my family? Make my children hate me because I chose strangers over them? I'm asking you to save lives, to tell the truth, to be who you've always claimed to be, a scientist who serves truth. But the cost is enormous. I know. Whistleblowers pay, always, even when they're right, even when they win eventually. They pay with careers, relationships, mental health. It's not fair, but it's reality. Then why should I do it? Because 7 people are already dead. Thousands more will die if Veritol launches.
and you have the power to stop it. Rachel, the question isn't whether you'll pay. You'll pay either way. Stay silent, and you pay with guilt, your soul, your integrity. Every time someone dies from Veritol, you'll know, I could have stopped that. Speak up, and you pay financially, professionally, but you keep your humanity. You can look at yourself in the mirror. My daughter will learn what integrity looks like. Rachel, what kind of doctor do you want Sophie to be? One who lies when convenient? Or one who tells the truth, regardless of cost? You're teaching her right now, not with words, with choices. Rachel sank down, overwhelmed. I don't know if I'm strong enough.
Jesus knelt beside her. You're not. No one is. That's why you need help. Legal help, emotional support, community. But Rachel, the first step is deciding, will you tell the truth? Everything else comes after. What if it doesn't matter? What if I blow the whistle and Apex launches anyway? Then you tried. You didn't participate in murder, because that's what this is. Corporate murder, killing people for profit. And you're being asked, will you be complicit or will you resist? I'm so scared. Nathan was scared. Elijah was scared. John was scared. I was scared in Gethsemane. Fear is normal, but courage isn't absence of fear. It's acting despite it. He stood, extended his hand. It's time to go back. Your choice is waiting, but remember, I'm not asking you to succeed. I'm asking you to be faithful. There's a difference. The choice. Rachel blinked. She was back in her office. Same position, laptop still open, data still glowing, but everything had changed.
She knew what she had to do. Rachel opened a secure folder, started compiling everything. Original trial data, manipulated data, internal memos, emails between Chen and Thornton, patient records showing adverse events. A comprehensive package, undeniable evidence of fraud. Then she drafted a report. Not emotional, not accusatory, just factual, clinical, the way a scientist should present findings. Analysis of Veritol Phase 3 trial data reveals systematic exclusion of adverse events. Evidence suggests data manipulation to conceal serious complications, including liver failure, kidney damage, and cardiovascular events. 7 patient deaths excluded from FDA submission. Recommend immediate investigation and trial suspension. She attached all supporting documentation, hundreds of pages, every email, every data file, everything. Rachel opened 3 browser tabs. 1. FDA MedWatch, Safety Reporting Portal. 2. Department of Justice, False Claims Act Hotline. 3. The New York Times, Investigative Tips. Her finger hovered over Submit. This was it. Once she sent these, there was no going back. The investigation would start. Her name would be revealed. Apex would sue her. Her career would end. She thought about Sophie, about Michael, about David, about the life they'd built. Then she thought about Robert Chen, Maria Rodriguez, James Patterson. 7 people dead. Names, not numbers. And she thought about the thousands who would take Veritol once it launched. Trusting it. Believing the FDA approval meant safety. Not knowing the data was fraudulent. Rachel clicked Submit on the FDA portal, attached the files, provided her contact information, certified that the information was accurate to the best of her knowledge. Submit. Then the DOJ hotline. Same package. False Claims Act violations. Fraud against the government. Evidence attached. Submit. Finally, the Times. She hesitated longest here. This would make it public, immediate, irreversible. But public pressure was the only way to force action. The FDA was slow. DOJ was slower. Media moved fast. She typed a brief message to the investigative team. I'm a senior scientist at Apex Pharmaceuticals. I have evidence of systematic data fraud in our cardiovascular drug trial. 7 patients died. The deaths were hidden from the FDA. The drug is 18 months from approval. People will die if this launches. I'm attaching full documentation. Please investigate immediately. Submit. Done. Rachel sat in the silence of her office. It was 2:37 a.m. In a few hours, her life as she knew it would be over. She called David. He answered, groggy. Rachel, it's almost 3 a.m. Are you okay? I need to tell you something, and you're going to be angry, but I need you to hear me out. What's wrong? I found evidence of fraud at Apex. Trial data manipulation. People died. The company hid it. And I just blew the whistle. Sent everything to the FDA, DOJ, in the New York Times. Silence. David? You did what? I exposed it. I had to. People will die if... Rachel, do you understand what you've done? We depend on your income, Sophie's tuition, Michael's school, the mortgage. I know. No, you don't know. You just destroyed our family's financial security. For what? To be a hero? To make yourself feel good while we lose everything? People are dying, David. And we're going to be homeless. Rachel, how could you make this decision without talking to me? This affects all of us. There wasn't time. There's always time. But you decided unilaterally to blow up our lives. God, Rachel, what were you thinking? She wanted to explain about the data, about the deaths, about Jesus asking what courage costs and whether she was willing to pay. But David hung up. Rachel sat alone in her office as dawn approached, knowing she'd done the right thing and wondering if the right thing was worth the price. Hour 6, the arrival. Rachel arrived home at 7 a.m. David was making breakfast. Didn't look at her. Sophie came downstairs. Mom, Dad said you did something at work. What's going on? I need to talk to both of you, and Michael when he wakes up. They sat at the kitchen table. Michael stumbled down in pajamas, confused why everyone looked serious. I discovered that my company has been lying about trial data for a drug. People died in the trials. The company hid the deaths. If the drug launches, thousands more will die. So I reported it to the FDA, the DOJ, and the press. Sophie stared. You're a whistleblower. Yes. They're going to fire you. Probably today. Sue you. Almost certainly. Mom, do you know what you've done? We can't afford... Sophie's voice broke. Yale. I can't go to Yale, can I? Rachel felt like she'd been punched. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. We'll figure something out. Community college for a year, then transfer. I worked so hard. Perfect grades, perfect SATs, everything for Yale. And you just... Sophie stood, tears streaming. How could you do this to me? She ran upstairs, slammed her door. Michael looked confused. Are we poor now? We'll be okay, buddy. It'll be tight, but we'll manage. I have to leave my school? Rachel couldn't lie. Maybe. We'll see. David finally spoke, voice cold. I'm going to work. We'll talk tonight, when I've calmed down enough to not say things I'll regret. He left. Rachel sat at the kitchen table, alone, wondering if she'd made the worst mistake of her life. Hour 12. The termination. Rachel arrived at Apex at 9 a.m. Security met her at the door. Dr. Morgan, you're required to meet with HR immediately. Don't go to your office. They escorted her to a conference room. Linda Harrison, HR director, and Charles Baxter, Apex's general counsel, waited with expressions like stone. Dr. Morgan, we're aware you've made serious allegations against this company. Allegations that violate your employment agreement, your NDA, and basic professional ethics. I reported data fraud. You breached confidentiality. You accessed proprietary files without authorization. You shared internal communications with outside parties. Any one of these is grounds for immediate termination. Charles slid papers across the table. Termination for cause, effective immediately. You'll receive no severance, no benefits continuation. And Dr. Morgan, we're suing you. Breach of contract, theft of trade secrets, tortious interference with business relations. We're seeking $10 million in damages. Rachel's vision tunneled. $10 million? I don't have... That's your problem. You chose to destroy this company's reputation with false allegations. There are consequences. They're not false. The data shows. The data is proprietary, and you had no authority to access it or share it. Dr. Morgan, we have the best lawyers in the country. We will destroy you. Financially, professionally, personally. When we're done, you'll never work in science again. People died. People die in trials. That's the nature of research. But you took incomplete information, made wild accusations, and went to the media. That's not whistleblowing. That's defamation. They escorted her from the building, wouldn't let her collect personal items, changed her credentials immediately. 23 years of work, gone in an hour. Rachel sat in her car, shaking, and called the one person who might help. Sarah Chen, 38, her closest friend from grad school, now a bioethicist at Columbia. Sarah, I need help. I just got fired, Apex is suing me for $10 million. I exposed trial data fraud and they're destroying me. Oh God, Rachel, do you have a lawyer? I can't afford one. I just lost my income. There are whistleblower protection lawyers who work on contingency. I'll send you names. But Rachel, are you sure about the data? If you're wrong, I'm not wrong. 7 people died. The company hid it. I have proof. Then you did the right thing. But honey, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Much worse. Do you have support at home? David's furious. Sophie hates me. I'm pretty sure my family is falling apart. Then call the lawyers today. And Rachel, you're not wrong. You're brave. History will prove it. But the present is going to be hell. Hour 24. The news breaks. By the next morning, the New York Times ran the story. Senior scientist alleges deadly data fraud at Apex Pharmaceuticals. The article was devastating. Quoted Rachel's evidence, showed the discrepancies, named the 7 patients who died. Within hours, every major outlet picked it up. CNN, NPR, Wall Street Journal. Apex stock plummeted 40%. The CEO, James Thornton, held a press conference. These allegations are completely false. Dr. Morgan is a disgruntled employee who is about to be terminated for poor performance. She's fabricated these claims to justify her own failings. We stand by our trial data. Veritol is safe. The FDA will confirm this. Poor performance. Rachel had won 3 company research awards, published extensively, but now she was incompetent. The character assassination began. Anonymous sources told reporters Rachel had emotional problems, that she was difficult to work with, that she'd falsified data before. None of it was true. All of it stuck. Rachel's phone exploded. Reporters wanting interviews, former colleagues calling her a traitor, threatening emails from Apex shareholders who'd lost money. One email? You lying bitch. My retirement fund was Apex stock. You cost me $200,000. I hope you die. Another? Whistleblowers are rats. You deserve everything coming to you. Her LinkedIn was flooded with attacks. Her professional reputation demolished in 24 hours. Hour 48. The family fractures. By day 2, the pressure was crushing. Sophie wouldn't speak to her. Michael was confused and scared. David was coldly civil, discussing only logistics. Sophie's Yale early decision letter arrived. Accepted. Full tuition. She brought it to Rachel, crying. I got in, my dream, and we can't afford it because of you. Sophie, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Mom, do you understand what you've done? You chose strangers over your own daughter. You sacrificed my future to be a martyr. I saved lives. You ruined mine. God, Mom, why couldn't you just keep quiet? Why did you have to be the hero? Because 7 people died. Because thousands more will die if that drug launches. Sophie, how could I stay silent knowing that? Easily. You could have easily. Everyone does. Everyone knows companies cut corners. Everyone knows drugs have side effects. That's the world. You don't have to fix everything. But I could fix this. I had the evidence. I had the power to stop it. And now you have no job, no money, and a family that will never forgive you. Sophie walked out, left the acceptance letter on the table. Rachel stared at it, her daughter's dream, destroyed because she chose truth. That night, David sat her down. I'm not leaving you, yet. But Rachel, you need to understand, this isn't just your decision. Your martyrdom affects all of us. Sophie's future, Michael's education, our retirement, everything. You made a unilateral choice that impacted 4 people. I couldn't let them die. You couldn't let strangers die, so you let your family suffer. Rachel, I admire your principles, but I also resent that you valued them more than us. That's not fair. None of this is fair, but it's reality, and we have to live with your choice. Rachel went to bed alone that night, wondering if she'd chosen truth over family, and whether that made her righteous or selfish. Month 1, the legal warfare. Rachel hired Michael Reynolds, 52, a whistleblower attorney who worked on contingency. His first words were not encouraging. Dr. Morgan, Apex is coming after you with everything. $10 million lawsuit. They're claiming you stole trade secrets, engaged in corporate espionage. They're going to make you an example. But I have proof of fraud, which you obtained by violating your NDA. Rachel, whistleblower protections are complicated. You're not a federal employee, so Whistleblower Protection Act doesn't apply. False Claims Act might if we can prove Apex defrauded the government, but that takes years. In the meantime, you're being sued into oblivion. So what do? We fight. We argue public interest disclosure. We argue the NDA is void because it was used to hide illegal activity. And we wait for the FDA investigation. If they find fraud, your claims are validated. But if they don't, or if they move too slowly, you're going to be destroyed. How long? Years. Whistleblower cases take 3 to 5 years minimum. You need to prepare for a marathon. And Rachel, most whistleblowers lose everything before they win anything. Month 3. The FDA investigation. The FDA launched a formal investigation into Apex, subpoenaed records, interviewed researchers. This should have vindicated Rachel. Instead, Apex claimed she'd contaminated the investigation by going public, that her unauthorized disclosure had tainted the process. The FDA moved slowly, bureaucratically, taking months to review what Rachel had documented in weeks. In the meantime, Rachel's savings evaporated. Legal fees, living expenses, no income. She took a job at Target, stocking shelves, $15 an hour. PhD from MIT, working retail because she'd been blacklisted in pharmaceutical research. Her coworkers didn't know who she was. That was a mercy. She restocked products in anonymity, a spectacular fall from senior scientist to retail worker. Month 6, the community support. Sarah organized a fundraiser. Rachel did the right thing. Now we support her. Bioethicists, former colleagues who believed her, patient advocates, they raised $50,000, enough to cover a few months of expenses, a lifeline. But it also increased visibility. Apex's lawyers argued Rachel was profiting from her defamation. The attacks intensified. One bright spot, Dr. Helen Rodriguez, another pharmaceutical scientist, reached out. I'm dealing with similar issues at my company. Watching what's happening to you terrified me, but also inspired me. I'm documenting everything. If I need to blow the whistle, I will, because of you. Rachel realized, even if she lost, she was showing others it was possible, that someone would speak up, that truth mattered. Month 9, the marriage cracks. David asked for separation, not divorce, space. I can't do this anymore, Rachel. The financial stress, Sophie's resentment, Michael's confusion, it's breaking us. I need time to figure out if we can survive this. David, please. I'm not the bad guy for needing space. You made a choice, a noble choice, but it has consequences, and I'm drowning in them. He moved into his brother's place. Rachel was alone with the kids. Sophie barely spoke to her. Michael asked questions Rachel couldn't answer. Are you and Dad getting divorced? I don't know, buddy. Is it because you told on your company? Partly. Do you wish you didn't? Rachel thought about it. Did she regret speaking up? Regret choosing truth over family stability? No, she said honestly. I wish it didn't cost this much. But people would have died, Michael. I couldn't let that happen. Even if it means we lose everything? Even then. She hoped he'd understand someday. Right now, he just looked sad. The vindication begins. 12 months after Rachel's disclosure, the FDA issued preliminary findings. Evidence of systematic data manipulation in Apex Pharmaceuticals' Veritol trial. Multiple adverse events excluded from official reports. Investigation ongoing. Trial suspended pending full review. Rachel wept reading it. She'd been right. Vindicated. The media narrative shifted slightly. Less disgruntled employee and more brave whistleblower. Some outlets apologized for the character assassination, but the damage was done. Her reputation was shattered, her family fractured, her savings gone. Vindication felt hollow when you'd lost everything to achieve it. Year 2, the settlement. 18 months after the FDA's preliminary findings, they issued the final report. Apex Pharmaceuticals engaged in deliberate data fraud. Veritol approval denied. Company fined $500 million. Criminal investigation referred to Department of Justice. James Thornton resigned. Marcus Chen was fired. 3 executives faced criminal charges. Apex settled with Rachel, dropped the lawsuit, paid her $2 million, fraction of what they'd sought from her, but enough to survive. Her lawyer took 40%. Taxes took more. She cleared $900,000, enough to pay debts, rebuild savings, breathe. But money didn't fix the relationships. Year 3, the family healing. Sophie was at community college, hadn't spoken to Rachel in months. But one day, she called. Mom, I'm studying public health, learning about pharmaceutical ethics, and I understand now what you did, why you did it. Rachel felt tears coming. Sophie, I was so angry. I'm still angry about Yale. But Mom, you saved lives. My professor calculated, if Veritol had launched, at least 2,000 people would have died in the first year. You stopped that. And I was so focused on myself, I didn't see it. You were 17. Your future got destroyed. You had every right to be angry. I did. But I also had a mother who taught me integrity matters, even when it costs everything, even when it costs Yale. I'm so sorry. Don't be. I'm transferring to Columbia next year, full scholarship for whistleblower family members. Turns out, some universities value what you did. Mom, I'm proud of you. It took me 3 years to say it, but I'm proud. They both cried. A bridge slowly rebuilding.
Year 4. The Ministry. Rachel couldn't return to pharmaceutical research, blacklisted, but Government Accountability Project, a whistleblower advocacy group, hired her. She helped other scientists navigate the terrifying process of exposing fraud, provided support, legal guidance, emotional encouragement. You're going to lose a lot, she told them honestly. Probably your job, maybe your marriage, definitely your peace of mind for years, but you'll save lives, and you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror. She worked with Dr. James Patterson, yes, same name as one of the Veritol victims, whose family was suing Apex. Helped them understand the science, testified as an expert witness. The Pattersons won $15 million. They donated $1 million to Rachel's organization in gratitude. You saved others from what happened to our father. We can never repay that. Year 5. The Congressional Testimony. Senator Williams invited Rachel to testify before Congress about pharmaceutical fraud and whistleblower protections. She sat before the committee, older, wiser, scarred. Senators, 5 years ago, I discovered evidence that my company had hidden deaths in a drug trial. I reported it, and I was destroyed, fired, sued, blacklisted. My family nearly fell apart. I lost my career, my reputation, my financial security. But I'd do it again, because 7 people died. Thousands more would have died, and I had the power to stop it. The question isn't why I blew the whistle. It's why I was punished for it. Why companies can hide deadly fraud and face minimal consequences, while whistleblowers lose everything. We need better protections, financial support during investigations, legal protections from retaliation, rewards when fraud is proven. Because right now, doing the right thing costs everything, and most people can't afford it. I could, barely, but I'm the exception. Most potential whistleblowers stay silent because they can't survive the retaliation, and people die because of that silence. Change the incentives, protect truth tellers, and fewer people will die from corporate fraud. The testimony went viral, led to the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act of 2029. Not perfect, but progress. Rachel's testimony was the catalyst. The legacy, 10 years later. Rachel at 54. 10 years after blowing the whistle, Dr. Rachel Morgan was Director of Scientific Integrity at the Government Accountability Project. She'd helped expose fraud in 12 pharmaceutical companies, none as dramatic as Veritol, but all important, all saving lives. Her marriage survived, barely. David came back after 2 years separated. Therapy, recommitment. Understanding that Rachel had done something necessary, even if it cost them everything. Sophie was finishing her MD at Columbia, planning to specialize in medical ethics. Because of you, Mom, you showed me what it looks like. Michael was 17, applying to colleges. His essay topic? My mother, the whistleblower. My mom cost our family everything to save lives. I resented her for years, but I understand now. Some things are worth more than comfort. Truth, integrity, other people's lives. She taught me that, and I'll never forget it. The book. Rachel published a memoir, The Price of Truth, one scientist's journey from silence to whistleblowing. Opening chapter detailed that night in her office. The choice, the encounter with Jesus, written ambiguously. I had a moment of profound clarity, a sense that someone was asking, what would you do if you knew the truth, and had to choose between comfort and courage? The book became required reading in medical ethics courses, not because it was triumphant, because it was honest about cost. I saved lives, but I lost years of my life doing it. My family nearly fell apart. I lost my career, my financial security. Most days, I was drowning in regret and second-guessing. But I'd do it again, because people are alive who would be dead. Families are intact who would be grieving. That's worth everything it cost. Whistleblowing isn't heroic. It's necessary. It's what you do when you know the truth and can't live with silence. Some people call me brave. I was terrified. Still am some days. But courage isn't absence of fear. It's acting despite it. If you're reading this and you know something, fraud, corruption, danger, and you're trying to decide whether to speak up, I can't tell you it'll be okay. It won't be. Not for years. But I can tell you, you'll survive. And you'll know you did the right thing. That's worth more than comfort. 20 years later, the full circle. 20 years after Veritol, Rachel received a letter from Maria Rodriguez's daughter, now 38. Dr. Morgan, you don't know me, but you saved my mother's life. In 2024, she was in the Veritol trial. She started experiencing liver problems. The company doctors said it was unrelated, told her to continue the drug. You exposed the fraud. The trial was suspended. My mother stopped taking Veritol. Her liver recovered. She's alive today, at my wedding, holding my baby, living, because of you. I wanted you to know, your sacrifice mattered, not abstractly, concretely. My mother is alive. My children have a grandmother, because you chose truth. Thank you. Forever. Thank you. Rachel read the letter 3 times, cried, called Sarah. It was worth it, all of it. Every terrible moment, every loss, every sacrifice. It was worth it. I know, Sarah said. The rest of us knew years ago, but I'm glad you finally believe it. Dr. Rachel Morgan, 64, stood before a room of graduate students at MIT, her alma mater. Full circle. I'm here to talk about scientific integrity and what it costs. She told them the story, the data, the choice, the consequences. 25 years ago, I discovered fraud. I had 3 options: ignore it, report it internally, or blow the whistle publicly. I chose the third, and it destroyed my life for years. A student raised her hand. Do you regret it? Every day for the first 5 years, never after that. Because I learned, you can rebuild careers, you can heal relationships, but you can't resurrect people who died because you stayed silent. Another student. What if speaking up doesn't change anything? What if you sacrifice everything and the system stays corrupt? Then you sacrificed everything for principle, and that matters. You're not responsible for whether the system changes. You're responsible for whether you participated in the lie. A third student. How do we know when to speak up? Not everything is fraud. Some things are just problems. Rachel thought carefully. Ask yourself, if people knew what I know, would they be horrified? If the answer is yes, you speak up. If it's they'd be mildly concerned, you might work internally first. But fraud, danger, death, you blow the whistle immediately. After class, a young scientist approached, nervous. Dr. Morgan, I'm working at a biotech company. I found data irregularities. Not as severe as Veritol, but concerning. I don't know what to do. Document everything. Consult a whistleblower attorney. And if it's real, report it. But before you do, understand, your life will change. Not for the better. Not for years. Only you can decide if it's worth it. How do I decide? You ask, can I live with silence? If the answer is no, you speak. If it's yes, you probably shouldn't. Because whistleblowing requires absolute commitment. You can't half do it. I don't think I can stay silent. Then you already know what to do. Rachel gave her attorney contacts, resources, support, another whistleblower, another life about to implode, another truth about to emerge. And Rachel thought, this is the legacy. Not the book, not the testimony. Teaching others that truth matters more than comfort, that some things are worth losing everything for. Jesus knew that, died for it. Prophets knew that, suffered for it. And every generation needs people who know it, who choose truth, who pay the price. Rachel was one. This student might be another. The chain continues. Truth tellers raising truth tellers. That's how corruption ends. Not through systems, through people willing to break them. One whistleblower at a time. In a world where silence is survival, Jesus asks, what is the truth worth? Rachel Morgan found evidence of fraud that would kill thousands.
She could have stayed silent, kept her job, protected her family. Instead, she spoke and lost everything.
The prophets did the same. Nathan confronting David, Elijah challenging Ahab, John condemning Herod. They paid for their truth-telling: exile, prison, death. Jesus cleansed the temple, overturned tables, called out corruption, and 3 days later was executed for it. Whistleblowers are modern prophets, speaking truth to power, exposing corruption, risking everything. And they pay, always, even when they're right. Rachel was vindicated eventually. The fraud was proven, lives were saved. But her vindication came 5 years and $2 million in legal fees later, after her family nearly collapsed, after her career was destroyed. Most people can't afford that, so they stay silent, and corruption continues, and people die. Jesus said, "The truth will set you free." But he didn't say it would be comfortable. He didn't say it would be easy. He didn't say it wouldn't cost everything. Freedom is expensive. Truth is costly. Integrity requires sacrifice. Rachel paid that price. So did thousands of others. Whistleblowers save lives. They stop fraud. They change systems. But they do it at enormous personal cost. If you're reading this and you know something, fraud, corruption, danger, and you're trying to decide whether to speak up, hear this. It will cost you. Probably your job, maybe your marriage, definitely years of your life in legal battles and financial stress. But people will be alive who would be dead, families intact who would be grieving. That's worth something, maybe worth everything. Jesus didn't come to make life comfortable. He came to make it meaningful. And meaning comes from choosing truth over comfort, integrity over security, others' lives over your own convenience. Rachel chose truth. It nearly destroyed her, but it saved thousands, and that made it worth it. 25 years later, she sleeps well at night, can look at herself in the mirror, knows she did the right thing. That's legacy, not what you accumulate, what you're willing to lose for principle. What would Jesus do if he found corruption that would kill people? He'd expose it, publicly, forcefully, without regard for personal cost. Because truth matters more than safety. Integrity matters more than comfort. Lives matter more than careers. Always. Discussion questions for groups. 1. Have you ever known about wrongdoing and stayed silent? Why? 2. Rachel's family suffered because of her choice. Was she selfish or courageous? 3. Nathan risked death to confront David. What gave him courage? 4. Jesus cleansed the temple violently. When is forceful truth-telling appropriate? 5. Rachel could have reported internally first. Should she have? Why or why not? 6. What protections should society provide for whistleblowers? 7. Daniel was willing to die rather than compromise. Are some principles worth dying for? 8. Rachel's vindication took 5 years. How do we maintain faith when justice is slow? 9. What's the difference between whistleblowing and betraying your employer? 10. If you discovered something wrong at your workplace, what would you do?